every member of CIPM UK branch. As the Vice Chair has said, my name is Samson Akinwale, and I count it a very rare privilege to be taking this in this meeting. I don't take it for granted. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and a big thank you to everyone again for our involvement and commitment so far uh, with the branch and UK at large in our profession. So today, we'll be having a case study. I'll be sharing my screen in a moment. Okay, just let me know as soon as you can see my screen.
Yeah, it's up.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Presentation mode.
Yep. So today's case study will be centered on the subject of workforce analytics absorption gap. This is a phrase or concept I have come up with going through some reflection and going through some of the observation that I have got. So it is my own. You may not yet see it in any dictionary or in any book anywhere, but I call it workforce analytics absorption gap. And I deemed fit to use it as a case study for our discussion today because it's been something I've been working on for more than 12 months now. And I've been making. Okay.
Sorry,
Oh,
I will
okay.
handle that.
All right.
I will handle that.
So, to start with, before I share the agenda with us, I have thought it necessary to begin with an icebreaker. And the icebreaker is just to give us a background of how the whole observation started in the first place. And we will be making allusion to this icebreaker in the course of the meeting. And how did it start? What exactly is this icebreaker going to tell us? It's about that very essential commodity called crude oil. And we all know how important crude oil has been, especially in the industrial age. In fact, it was the most powerful commodity that powered that particular age, even up till now. Even though we have technology taking over some things and we have the green effect coming into place too, and a lot of the usefulness of crude oil is being put aside just to set in for the new green initiative that the whole world is working on. But aside that, in that particular age, crude was very essential. But when you look at it in its raw form, it does not give you or reflect the entire value it has got. After taking it further into processing and refining it, that is when all the usefulness and the importance and the value crude has got begins to reveal itself. So crude in its raw form has potential but not direct value until it is refined. And interestingly, most countries who do not even produce crude eventually make more money from crude oil than some countries that produce crude or are blessed with crude. Why do you think this happened, or why do you think this is? The reason is not far-fetched. It is because those countries who never produced crude but made more money from it, they had taken time to invest in refining capacity. They turn crude into petrol and all sort of byproduct, aviation fuel and what have you, those products that actually drive value. On the other hand, other countries who produce the crude, as it were, and they are called oil producing or petroleum exporting nations. And then, imports refined products at a higher cost. What I'm saying is that the countries who produce the crude but cannot refine it are compelled to send it out to countries who actually have capacity to refine, and they import it back to themselves at a refined state at a higher cost. And they are indirectly making money for the countries who only have capacity to refine, even though they do not have the crude oil or they are not blessed with the crude oil itself. Now, let's bring it a bit closer home to HR practice and people management in general. Most organizations today are sitting on tons of what we call workforce data. Examples of this data could be performance data, could be absence or sickness absence data or record. It could be engagement metrics. It could be benefit and compensation data, just to know are we at a verge or at a threshold of reviewing the compensation package of our people. What do we look into? How do we do this? Different type of data. This is what HR people are sitting on daily basis. It is voluminous and in vast amounts. So just as crude oil, data also on its own has limited value until it is refined. So without the ability to refine it, without the ability to analyze or interpret it, HR, even though they by default sit on this vast amount of data, they are inadvertently dependent on other people who have capacity to make sense of data. Let's begin to imagine, okay, I produce, or the people I lead produce data by default. I have access to those data, but I do not have capacity to refine the data to bring out more insight from it and advise top management on how to make the organization move forward. Then I'm at the mercy of some people who have this capacity and who may not necessarily even be HR. So in many cases, HR becomes a data producer, but not necessarily a data decision maker. And more often than not, that is the situation where most HR find themselves. You will argue with me and say, okay, and that is why we have maybe the business intelligence unit who are supposed to make sense of the data and give you the sense and all that. Have you thought of the situation or instances where there are emergencies and you need to quickly just roll out data yourself and make some sense out of it without necessarily having to wait for anybody and all that? And this is why actually the specialty in HR called HR analytics or people analytics or workforce analytics came up. But there was a situation, a problem that I discovered around that, and that is why I have to bring it up. I'll get to that in a moment. WAAF, which is WAAF, is also a concept I've come up with, just like the WAG I mentioned initially. I'll also get to this in a moment. So WAAF is about building the refinery, the capability to transform raw HR data into insight, direction, and strategic impact. Now, the icebreaker I want to cast our mind back. We can imagine what Dangote sat down with his think tanks and eventually realized that, okay, I have a country blessed with crude in vast amounts, and even the type of crude Nigeria has is sold for free, so it is market ready and is in high demand, even in preference to a number of other crude coming from other countries. Here is Nigeria unable to refine the crude itself. What did Dangote and his people do? They had to sit down and come up with a refining capacity or capability. And the rest is history. We know what it is at the moment. It's as if now the contracting out of the capacity to refine that Nigeria has given out to many countries for several decades, somebody now sat down eventually in-house to make sense of it and move up from there. Okay, for structure's sake and to put us in proper check of time, this is the agenda I'll be running through. That was just the icebreaker. Doing an opening perspective, understanding WAG, which I mentioned earlier, we need to now understand what exactly is this WAG about. If we are to look out for WAG, what are the symptoms or indicators that we drive our attention to the fact that whether or not WAG is in practice here or is present here, then how to probably deal with it. So WAG is actually a problem, and immediately after dealing with that, I'll move into discussing WAF, and WAF is a solution to WAG. So then I will also talk about operationalizing WAF, principles responsible for workforce analytics. Then we'll move to a conclusion and closing thoughts. Okay, in the opening perspective, this is it. So what is exactly going on in my mind as I was going through those different researches, and also probably at work while thinking deeply, okay, why is this not this? The thought started just this way. What if the future of this, our very, very honorable profession, requires more than policies and intuition, which have been the foundational pillars that established the profession in the first place, that made it to move from just a personnel management as it used to be, now being called human resource management. What if HR is not just an art? What if there is a science perspective to HR? That reflection brought up further fundamental questions to my mind. Can workforce decisions be approached with the same rigor as scientific systems? We all know what basic scientific system entails. In science, we were taught, in fact, the three pillars upon which science stands are just these. Science rests on what we call tests. Science will never come up with any postulation or theory or any hypothesis without these three pedestal. Number one is test. There must be a test. And while you are testing, while specimens are involved in that test, as the scientist or the person carrying out the test, you are expected to be observing. So after test is what we call observation. While observing, you are checking the constituent specimens or reactants in that particular scenario, either a controlled scenario, laboratory in this time around, or an uncontrolled one, just to have a control experiment and an uncontrolled experiment and be able to compare both at the end of the day before driving out any conclusion. So after the text, this observation is expected to be going on. It is in the course of the observation, whoever is now in charge is expected to draw inference, which is a conclusion. Those are the three things. So science will never conclude without observation. Science will not have any observation without conducting a test. So which part of HR can actually co-occur readily very well with scientific principles or system? As I was ruminating and thinking, nothing else came to mind except the same situation the icebreaker brought to our knowledge. It was formerly oil in the industrial age. Oil has now been reputed, or has now, oil is no longer the major discussion as it were any longer. We now have what we call data, which is now given almost equal as attention just as we used to give to oil. Data is now the new oil in the global and business space. Now, what aspect of HR can we readily liken to this vis-a-vis the science input we were talking about before? Nothing else. There's no other specialty in nature, not even performance management, not even compensation, not even change management or what have you. There is none other but workforce analytics. And workforce analytics is just the HR way of saying data analytics. I don't need to tell us the current significance and relevance data is currently gathering, and will further gather into the future. I may forget in the course of the discussion, let me say it now. Data is so important that whoever has not woken up to the realization of data and what they need to do about it, especially HR people who sit on data by default. You don't need to contract the capability to make sense of the data of the people you are leading to anybody. It may not be as perfect as somebody who went to do it as a raw specialization or as a data scientist, but basic things that are expected to drive your own motivation and how to make business case to top management. You don't want to contract that, because you can wake up out of the sleep one day and you want to make some findings as to what you are doing, and you want to pencil it down. And what is that? Is the fact that the era of AI, artificial intelligence, is no longer anything anybody need to be told about. AI has not only come to stay, AI has come not just to even redefine the future, AI has come to restructure the present. And for anybody to stand the test of time and to survive for as long as possible, you must have food at least. So the food of AI that will make AI remain relevant for it, I mean, before eternity, is nothing else but data. All the secret life of AI, all the functionalities AI is bragging on today is on nothing else but data. AI feeds on data to outperform human intelligence. So people dealing with data, I mean HR, who have data at their disposal at will, they are not just expected to make sense of the data. They need to sharpen basic skills in terms of data and plug any other hole that may come in the course of it. So while intuition remains valuable, while policies are good, every people related decisions deserve clarity that data provides. And that one will not come by accident. You will need to consciously and deliberately go after it. Now, how do we get into WAG, which I mentioned earlier? And what is WAG in the first place? WAG is Workforce Analytics Absorption Gap, meaning there is a gap in the rate at which workforce or labor force in general absorb those analytics. Now, as data has become central to business decision making the world over, workforce analytics is no longer anything optional. It is a sine qua non. But aside that, there still exists something contrary. There is a paradox. As much as we see organizations adopting workforce analytics, they have more workforce data than ever before. In spite of that, they still struggle to turn that workforce data into meaningful action. This is where WAG is discovered. And this paradox actually leads to what I called WAG, and that is the concept this particular case study is all about. Now, what is WAG again? Further described. I have described WAG as a situation where data is obviously abundant, but actionable insight is scarce. There is data abundance, but there is insight scarcity. That is an unpardonable paradox. Both things appearing or existing simultaneously. Why will I have data and yet we still do not derive as much insight as possible that we need from the data? It occurs, or WAG takes place more often than not when organizations invest in analytics tools and dashboards, which is very good. That is the stats. But despite investing in analytical tools and dashboards, they fail to embed data into everyday decision making. You think, how possible is that? Okay, it is one thing for approval to come to procure as many data infrastructure as possible, data pipeline, APIs, and put a couple of departments in place to run things. Good. To make it become part of the culture of the organization, it is entirely a different ball game. So you could have adoption. All you need is write a business case, get it approved after some meetings and war review, and after approval, procurement start and all that. But absorption goes beyond just procurement and introducing people to it. It has to become a behavioral integration of analytics into every member of the workforce. How will that ever happen? Most organizations have been able to do the adoption because it doesn't take too much technicality, as it were. It's just to see a bit things clearly and move on. But how will it become part of the culture of the entire workforce is a different ballgame altogether. What is the key insight here? and what is the critical truth WAG is trying to tell us. Strategy naturally defines somebody's intention or an action plan, but culture is the one that will determine whether the content or the object of that strategy will be executed or not. Meaning, until you make something become a culture, you will not naturally carry it out without even thinking about it. And to make workforce analytics become the order of the day and deriving insight from it from different departments and leading people based on this, it's not a one-off event. It is something that has to become part and parcel of the entire workforce, which can only be done when it becomes a culture. So even the most advanced analytics, I will argue, most advanced analytics strategies eventually would fail if if what the organization does is to probably discourage curiosity, is probably to ignore any data input from somebody, maybe because that particular insight is going to challenge some people who appear to be in authority, or is going to try and open up or expose some things you do not want some other people to know. It will eventually fail if decisions remain only at the intuition level. There are no numbers to it, and nobody is analyzing or making sense of the numbers. All right, in practice, what should we be looking out for us to start identifying whether WAG is present or not? And I like us to picture this in our mind and vis-a-vis the occurrences that happen in our workplaces. WAG manifests when what happens is only that dashboards are viewed, but there is no quality time allocated for technical interrogation. You are planning for WAG, or there is a loophole for WAG already. How does WAG manifest? When metrics are only reported without contextual interpretation. When insights are generated, but they are not necessarily translated into actions. When AI tools are being deployed and there is no governance, and that is a very, very big issue coming up. I like all HR. You can pencil this down as HR and what area you need to advise your organization about. The rate at which AI is being adopted these days, the kind of data governance issue that UK and most global Western world will start recording will be around the ethical use of AI, because AI is already going haywire. And if handling or manipulating simple data is still poles apart or out of reach for HR, then when AI is in full swing mode, it will be pretty difficult for a lot of HR to grapple. They have claimed, or people have argued, that AI is replacing people, or AI is replacing workforce. Companies are downsizing and what have you. That is not actually the technical reality. AI is not replacing anybody. What is actually happening is that people who have capacity to use AI are replacing people who do not have capacity to use AI. In other words, people who have capacity to manipulate the data they produce and the data the people they lead are producing are having edge, or we have edge and continually have edge over people who are only laid back. I think we have been practicing this thing for the last 15, 20 years. There is nothing else that we need to do that we have not done, and you may not be thinking you may not be considering it the right way. Things are changing drastically, and to remain at strategy table where you are respected not just for who you are and your profession, but for also what you bring to the table, then you must consciously bring this to bear in your practice and what you are doing. So this creates a structural disconnect. What creates a structural disconnect between how data is produced, or what amount of data being produced, and what percentage of that data is eventually being applied or put into application. Is there any solution? I think I saw a hand up. Is that correct?
Yes, it's when you're done, it's just to give a comment regarding the statement you just made, and when you're done,
Okay,
I just wanted it to be there when you're done and you ask for questions and answers.
great. Thank you. So, what is the solution and how do we get into the solution? Or how do we make the most of the solution as it is? Traditional analytics maturity model focus heavily on these three things, which is part of what is creating the current challenge we have. It focuses on tools, it focuses on technology, and it focuses on infrastructure. But workforce analytics adoption gap is not just a technical problem. So that traditional model essentially addressed technical problem. WAG is more of a behavioral and organizational problem than a technical problem. And you know, anything coming under the umbrella of behavioral, organizational, OD, and what have you is at the purview, is under the purview of people managers, and that is HR. So this leads to what I eventually call WAAF, which is Workforce Analytics Adoption Framework. And this is a framework I have thoughtfully and with some research come up with, advising on what to do and talking to some people, and even I've taken some steps in implementing and executing this solution, which has been on for more than 18 weeks now. Now, WAF addresses this central problem. What is central problem? How do organizations, or how will organization ensure workforce data is embedded in responsible decision making? How? It is a 5-layer structure which I have built, and it's already going into a 6th layer at the thought or the realization of what AI is coming to do. Now, what is the first structure? So the very first structure of workforce analytics adoption framework is what I call data infrastructure. That is given. It has to be there. The focus is structural integrity here, and the layer is expected to ensure accurate data sets. People who are already into data will we understand what I mean by accurate data set in terms of data preparation, the integrity of the data, cleaning the data, and what have you. This discussion will not permit that because of time. So this layer is to also ensure clear metric definition. What do you want to do? You have to already put them in metrics, and they have to be well defined. Owning your reporting system, and also reliable update cycle coming with that. So layer 2 is a bit advanced than layer 1, and it is focusing on analytical literacy. So this layer I called interpretation capability. This is where the bulk of WAG issue rests. A lot of times you see people sit in a strategy room or in any briefing meeting where probably analysts come up to give a report of what they have done in terms of dashboard, or just probably a leader just trying to give a report or an update of his or her department and going through a dashboard. As somebody who has understanding of how to turn around data and make sense of data, there are some questions that are expected to be asked while looking at the dashboard and seeing what the person is presenting. So this is where the analytical literacy comes in. There are basic lessons and understanding that an average people manager ought to have. So when you are confronted with data, those are the things you trigger up, and we inform what sort of questions you are asking based on what is being presented. So decision makers need to have capacity to be able to distinguish between correlation and causation. Those are things that a typical dashboard will present. Even if the person presenting does not mention it, it should be a question that you are highlighting this. What does this bring out for this in terms of is it a causation now, or does it correlate with this? And if it correlates, what other factors is not yet mentioned? By the time those questions are coming up, they will trigger other things that some people are not even thinking about, and the whole outcome will be mind-blowing, because the essential insight that will come out of it, even the person that first came up with the report will least expect where it is leading to. So these decision makers are equally expected to interpret trends responsibly, understand metric limitation. I have to rush now. Ask structured analytical questions, and they have to be able to ensure that dashboard does not just create insights. Dashboard does not just create a picture of chart and what have you. It rather creates insights and also helps interpretation as it's going. So what is the third layer? The third layer is decision alignment. And the focus here is strategic linkage. How do you link this particular report you are coming up with the problem that led to it vis-a-vis the entire bottom line of the organization? In strategy document, or in terms of what the organization intends to achieve quarterly and yearly, how does this align? What do we need to quickly adjust to make sure what this report is proposing does not happen in terms of negativity? So data that we use, or whatever data report or analysis that we do, must be able to connect to the basic objectives of the organization, the workforce planning priorities, performance outcomes, resource allocations decision. Without alignment in this way, without your data and reporting and dashboard aligning in these ways, analytics only become an analytical theater, which does not help in any way. The fourth one is ethical governance, which I also mentioned earlier, and this more than ever before is going to play out, especially as many things give way to AI. The rate at which AI is going to unleash data, which it has already started, if there is no proper protocol in place, and if the entire workforce does not internalize this process, there will be data tsunami, and it can overturn the entire organization, and it can even lead to a lot of litigation issues, as it were. No company is planning to have just even half a litigation issue in terms of data governance, let alone several of them. It's not what anybody wants to go through. It's a very, very messy situation. So this layer also helps us to ensure privacy awareness, bias, sensitivity, proportional data use, and transparent decision making. The fifth one, which is probably the last one on this layer, the sixth one later on will come as an inclusion or as an addendum to the structure in a new version I will produce. So this fifth one is now talking about behavioral adoption. How do the entire workforce, from the top leadership to entry level new joiners in the organization, how do they make this thing part and parcel of them? How does an organization make this to be the central part of the organization's culture? So the adoption will begin to occur, or we begin to see if this has happened, when leaders consistently reference data in their discussion or in their reports. Oh, based on social data that we got in the last quarter, this quarter we are adjusting our practice to respond to that particular discovery. And after this quarter, we want to see if there is any change or no change at all, or something changing a bit. We try this second quarter, and if we are seeing a movement, then it means that we need to look at that area very well and pin it down. That's already a way of internalizing and making everything data says counts in what you do personally or as an organization. So it also occurs when analytical questioning becomes routine. It occurs when insights shape operational decisions. And this is where analytics becomes a habit, not just a tool. That is the point WAG was trying to bring up. Analytics is more or less a tool in our current day, but the best way to make the best out of it is to make it go beyond just becoming a tool. It must be a habit. It must be part of the fiber with which the fabric of the entire workforce is made. So, how have I thought about this being operationalized? I'm talking about WAF now. So, we can operationalize this through guided dashboard walkthrough, analytical questioning templates, scenario based discussions, governance reflection prompts, and iterative review cycle. So, that analytical questioning templates have already try to create that template and also share it with, I made it public such that we can take advantage of it at our convenience time. So you can go here, talent baskets, take this link .co.uk/WAV, then, yep, talent basket.co.uk. Yeah, so that is it there in the chat box for us to go through later on after this class. So that file is there. The whole of this structure for WAF is also there for us to digest. Then there is a WAF toolkit that is also there. You can download. It's for free, and just have it on your phone and have it handy, so it can help you make sense of data-related activities you are facing in your organization. And if there's any other questions, we can always get to that much more after today's section. Yeah. So what are the principles behind this? I don't know if I still have more time, Vice Chair.
You don't. Yeah, you're just right on time for the 40 minutes.
Oh, already 40
Yeah.
minutes?
Yes, you started at
My
around
God.
10:20.
Wow. I
So
never
you
knew.
need to round up in
Yes.
would 5 minutes be enough for you
Yeah,
to
yeah,
round
yeah.
up?
I can
Okay,
round
so
off.
please just round
I
up in
can
5
round off
minutes.
now, any
Okay,
moment from now. So
right.
these are the
Thank you.
principles. So we can follow it up later on so that I can give also room for question or comment. I don't need to say this again. So call to action finally is, what are you to do from this case study presentation? What is the import of this discussion? You need to start viewing your organization using the WAF template. Where is any difference or any shortfall? And I've dropped the link in there for us to go through and check, then download the file too on your phone or anywhere. What else? Engage more critically with your dashboard. If you so wish, if you're interested, you can join what I call Join the Discovery for People Manager series. It's a weekly series that has been holding for more than 18 weeks. You can also participate in Project 1 Million, which is just a collection of people who are following this initiative and they want to take advantage of data inputs in human resource management. Then let's build the
Hopefully you
future
can round up now,
of
sir, so
HR.
that we can engage with
Yeah,
what
thank
you've
you.
presented to us. I know a lot of people will have questions, comments, so that we can really engage. Yep. Thank you so much. This is very, very useful. I thought we would hit our icon buttons and celebrate this one. This has been great, and I see hands already coming up. Please let's thank you so much. This has been very useful. I think we should have probably allotted like 1.5 hours for this, because I'm sure that you have to run through some of these bit of things. But it will be important for us to also give members the opportunity to engage with these conversations. Otherwise, we would not have enough time for that. And you've said quite a lot. I see 3 hands raised already. Are there more hands that are coming up? Because we would not be able to take more than the hands that are raised. as of now. So please, if you have any question, can we just have a hand raised so that we can ask those questions? Already we have shot, significantly out of the time that is allotted for this session. So, but it's just to strain it a bit. If you have any question now, I see 3 hands. Is it going? Let's start with Owolola, whose hand has been raised for a while. I'm sure if it was a physical hand, it will be paining you already.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Sampson. That was such a wonderful presentation, extremely relevant to the times that we're in. And being someone that
Thank
works
you so
for a
much.
people, data, and technology startup, I'm right at the forefront of this. And I can tell you that indeed we need to be shouting it at the rooftops. And even though I will say, maybe it's the media, maybe it's the people, but this statement, everywhere I hear it, I'm wondering, why are we blindsiding people? Why are we understating the facts? AI is taking jobs. It's not, let's not lie to ourselves. Because if I'm not going to talk about my own organization for confidentiality purposes, but I can tell you in the last quarter, developers, product managers that have been replaced by AI. And even if we look at the case study of IBM, IBM has laid off approximately 8,000, this is 8,000 humans, 8,000 homes, 8,000 great jobs because of the strategic shift towards AI and the high growth areas. Because I have witnessed, we used to have a 6-week cycle for our developers to go from product to from request to from requirements provision to product. Now AI does it in 30 minutes. In 30 minutes, right before my eyes, because I was a bit I was against laying off some of the developers. But when I saw that this is AI doing something in 30 minutes that these developers take our salary for 1.5 months for, and he does it for free, all we need to do is pay the subscription annually. So if people are still being in that box and bubble, it's time for us as HR to tell ourselves. And if you're into career coaching or advice to people, let people sound the alarm. It is taking jobs. It's not only going to take the jobs of people that are good in AI, because I'm telling you, the people we had to lay off, is not that they were not top notch when it comes to technology. But if the job of 10 people is being done by one person and in record time, the 9 people, there is nothing you can do with them. So it's just going to build a lot of monopolies. The rich are going to get really filthy rich because they'll just get the 1 or 2 people and they'll build those businesses. So let us sound the alarm. That's my own advice. Thank you again, Mr. Sam.
Happy days.
Thank
Happy
you.
days.
Thank you so much.
I don't know if Samson wants to respond. I don't think there's really, or I don't know if you want to. Again, because it's really as clear as daylight, really. So
Yeah, because we still have a lot of people whose hands are still up. I may not need to
yes.
talk now. Yeah. But
Okay,
thank
yeah,
you so
so
much, Owolola. Thank you.
Chair, you have the floor now.
Thank you very much. Samson, fantastic presentation. I just couldn't help but listen all the time. Thank you.
Thank
Because
you,
of time, I've posted my question on the group the chat.
Yes.
So you can then respond in time. So I don't want to take much time, but again, fantastic. And I really agree with what Lola have said. I've just started a new role covering the UK and Dubai, and my major task is to shape up the organization in both region. And within the first 3 weeks, 60 roles had to go.
Hmm.
And these 60 roles, in terms of the the workforce and the timeline, the working hour that combine, the job that needed to be done. We've got some field office in India, but they're not as busy as that of Dubai in the UK. Was less than an hour for a manpower's job that gets done on a monthly basis, and I was gobsmacked. I've always used AI at home, but I've never been in that stage whereby it's actually been paid for and it could do multiple things. So I really second what Lola said, and I think this is for everyone in here. Let's not kid ourselves. I think the reason why we are in a better place, someone needs to manage the organizational change, ensure everything is in line with compliance, regulatory, and employment law. But at some point, those things could be done by AI. So maybe this is the time for us to think about what sort of skill set we need, and how we can really navigate the employment system to ensure that we retain our job, but be more relevant. But the bottom line, AI is here. If you walk into some retail shop, they've reduced the number of tills to just self-service. I went into my local Primark the other day in Chatham, and I'm thinking, where are the cashiers? It's all been replaced by self-service. I'm thinking, what's going on? I walk into my Tesco next to my office in the city. All the cashier shop have now been reduced to only one. All we have is just self-service, automated AI, and whatnot. So AI is here to take our job, but we just need to be more smarter in terms of how we navigate ourselves through this amazing employment environment and find something for ourselves. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
sir.
you, Chair. Great contribution. Do you want to? I don't know. Can we take Christiana? Then maybe you can then react. Together, so that
that's
we
fine.
save some time. Christiana, please go ahead now.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair, and thank you, Samson, for the very brilliant presentation.
Thank you.
I'm currently at work, and I'm going to be very brief. I was going to say that I hope Mr. Sampson is aware that there's a CIPM academic conference coming up. I don't know if he has considered putting this into any form of paper for publication, for consideration, I don't know. But this sounds like something scientific and that should be considered academically. That's on one side. And then on the other hand, I wanted to say that with regards to Mr. Sampson speaking about behavioral adoption, understanding causation and correlation and all that, what I've come to realize regarding data is that the first step is for HR professionals to understand data. And how can you do it? And which was something I came to terms with a couple of months ago. The first step is firstly taking courses on data analytics or HR analytics. And that's something I've come to realize that most HR professionals do not have. If you do not have a basic knowledge of how you can translate your data into dashboards, you can't understand your dashboards when you present them or when other people present them. And you won't be able to understand the difference between causations, relations, or begin to build behavioral adoption within the organization. So there has to be a basic understanding for everyone. And I think in a way, that was the question I wanted to ask, which was related to what I saw Mr. Chairman post on the group. Because if you ask me, the bottom line is for every HR professional to be data savvy. So take courses in HR analytics and be able to understand everything that has to relate to it. Because from your presentation, top to bottom, I could understand majority of the things you were talking about because I've been able to take some courses in HR analytics because I have to narrow down to HR analytics. But if we do not understand the numbers, then we'll just be seeing everything up in the air and up, as dashboards. I think that's what I wanted to chime in. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Because of our time, okay, yes, I see Mr. Tomini's hand raised as well. Please go ahead, sir. And after which we will be unable to take any more. Mr. Tomini, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. First is to second that proposition that Samson should at least make a presentation speak at the CIPM conference. So maybe Mr. Chairman and Vice Chairman can make it happen by speaking with the registrar and of course the president. But I just wanted to share also that last month I designed or redesigned the organizational structure for an organization in the UK, which is also in the Middle East. And you know how our organizational structure normally is. You have the boxes, and then you have all the boxes below and all of that. 70% of the boxes that we redesigned are AI agents. AI, only 30% are women's. So, for example, in recruitment under HR, you have recruitment manager, and then the two boxes below the recruitment manager are AI agents. One is to search all, job platforms, websites, whatever, for CVs, results, all of that. The other one is coordinating, setting interviews, doing all sorts of things just behind the scene. And the same thing goes for all the roles, the boxes in the organization under each function, including marketing, including sales. So something is right. Everybody, what you said is right. We really need to know, what AI can do, how AI can help us, and what we should focus on. But lastly, for me, it's also around even our own kids who are in uni right now studying some courses. And tell you before they graduate, those courses could be useless. Of course, the knowledge will be useful, but the jobs they think they would have are gone. So it's really I wouldn't call it a bad time. It's a good time for everybody to take a step back and reflect, and then focus on where they think their specialty will help humanity. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Samson, if you may, 1 minute, just if you have to add to a lot of things that have been said, there's one critical question that somebody has asked. What are the skills that we should be majoring on going into the future? Owolola has said a lot, Chair said a lot, Christiana, Mr. Somili also said a lot as well. But ramping this up, I think this conversation must continue. So 1 minute, if you can round up so that we can quickly go into other details. We're really short above time.
All right. Thank you, Vice Chair. Thank you, everyone, for your contributions from Owolola to the chairman himself. Thank you so much, sir, to Christiana and to our big boss in the house, Mr. Tomine. So, what more can I say? So, I'm glad the message was clear and direct, and it's been absorbed already. That's the primary objective of this discussion. But just a few comments as per, okay, is AI taking the job or not? That is no brainer. AI is already taking the job. So my inclusion was an advanced level that, okay, this guy that is now taking the job, what can we actually do to also take advantage of him? What we can do is to actually learn the basic things about that AI, such that what AI is expected to be doing, we are also able to use it to do it. How do I mean? Recently, there was this issue. I speak with a lot of tech guys. I have them so close to me. We work together on some database issues and all that. This guy was telling me recently that he deployed Claude. If you know AI, Claude AI, he deployed Claude and he just went to sleep. Meanwhile, I had read it several times online. Some people will come online in our network and they will say, okay, I just told my AI to do a couple of things and I went to sleep. But by the time I woke up the following day just to check the progress of the work, I just realized that AI has done more than what I told it to do. In fact, in the process, some of my data is lost. So that comes to the fact that there are some little caution you need to do in also putting AI to check. So what I'm trying to say is that after deploying AI in those organizations, at the start, it will work fine. But when they appraise it, they still need human beings to help check what one or two things AI did not do correctly or how else to advise AI. Don't forget, AI feeds on data produced by human beings. So that is a next layer. I said that maybe because in
Thank
tech,
you,
we are.
Mr. Sampson. 1 minute. You spent 2 minutes already. I know if I
Oh
give
my
you more
God.
time, you go on and on. We still have a lot to cover in this meeting.
Thank you
But
so
really, this has
much.
been great. And I think this